In this video, I will explain my choices for the strongest team in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. If you previously watched this video, just know that I have since changed my mind about that team being the strongest, simply because I used the wrong starter.
What? What the fuck?
That's right. I no longer believe that Swampert is the best starter to use in the strongest team for Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. In my opinion, the starter that belongs on the strongest team is actually Blaziken, and you probably want to know why. Well, just keep watching. In crafting any team that I advocate as the strongest for the Pokemon games, it is essential to identify those obstacles that require a specific strategy to defeat, and know what that strategy is. If you are unable to do this, you are doomed to create a team that is unable to defeat all the mandatory trainer fights in the game without extra grinding, and such a team cannot be called the strongest. The members picked for the team are those which are best suited to carry out the strategies needed to overcome the most difficult obstacles in the game. That being said, since you guys know I already made a video for a team revolving around Swampert that I previously called the strongest team, it is essential to distinguish between Swampert and Blaziken's contribution to the team to understand why Swampert does not qualify to be on the strongest team. First, let's compare their individual strength. Swampert is strong against the first 5 gyms. His moves Mud Slap and Mud Shot are great for setting up a Pokemon with a type advantage against Brawly due to lowering his Pokemon's accuracy and speed. Against Norman, he can spam Dig against Norman's slackings to exploit their truant ability and gain the upper hand. Swampert is also useful for defeating Tate and Liza as well as DFuego-H's Walrein using the move Hammer Arm. In addition to this, he can also defeat Drake's Dragon Pokemon as well as Steven's Aggron, Claydol, Armaldo, and Metagross. That is a lot of Pokemon where Swampert is useful, so the argument that he is the best starter to use for the strongest team is actually very compelling. On the other hand, Blaziken is useful against Watson's Pokemon due to the move Power Up Punch making him neutrally strong against his Voltorb in addition to being super effective against Magnemite and Magneton. That same move makes him useful against Flannery, where he can use the move Dig to take out Slugma and Torkoal, and he can use Power Up Punch against Numel to make Dig have more impact against Torkoal. Do you remember how in the Swampert strongest team video I needed to pick 2 members just to overcome Glacia? Yeah, Mega Blaziken can sweep through those chumps like they're nothing more than just insects. However, if you compare the individual strengths of Swampert and Blaziken by themselves, Swampert is clearly stronger. So what gives? Why isn't Swampert on the strongest team? Well, that's where a key principle of this channel becomes applicable. When it comes to any Pokemon team, or any team for that matter, if it's in basketball or in soccer or in football or any other kind of team sport, teamwork trumps an individual member's strength. Sure, Swampert can defeat a lot of Pokemon in these games, but he has to do it by himself. Blaziken, on the other hand, when helped by the other members on this team, can defeat many more Pokemon on top of the Pokemon he can already defeat alone. When working as a team, Blaziken can also sweep Norman's normal Pokemon, Elite Four Sydney's Dark types, and champion Steven's entire team. In addition, Blaziken is better equipped to take down Team Aqua and Magma than Swampert is, as Swampert's strongest team struggles against Team Aqua. That, in short, is why Blaziken is actually the superior starter to pick over Swampert despite being inferior in terms of individual strength. But what members are meant to support Blaziken? Well, this is when we look at the obstacles for this game that Blaziken cannot defeat by himself. The first of those obstacles is Roxanne's Rock-type gym. Since we know that Swampert is not on the team, we now have to consider other Pokemon to take down this gym. The difficulty in doing this is that Swampert is very reliable for taking down the first 5 gyms alone, so finding a Pokemon that can offer a similar role to Swampert and contribute more to the overall chemistry of this team is no easy task. However, we can make the discussion simpler by focusing on the types that are 4 times super effective against Geodude, which are Water and Grass. The Pokemon that fall under these types that are available before the first gym are Ludicolo, Shiftry, Pelipper, Surskit, Balloon, Sceptile, and Azumarill. Ludicolo and Shiftry are version exclusives which automatically eliminates them from contention. Neither Wingull nor Surskit are reliable since their secondary types are weak to rock types. We are then left to pick between Breloom and Sceptile. The choice is actually easy. After Roxanne, Sceptile is only useful against Tate and Liza, Wallace, and Steven's Claydol. While Sceptile is not weak by any means, Breloom is useful against most of these obstacles as well, and can play a key role in overcoming Brawly, Watson, and Norman due to knowing the move Lead Seat. Breloom is also useful against Elite Four Sydney's Dark types due to his secondary fighting type. Of all the Water and Grass Pokemon available before the first gym, Breloom is by far the best option to pick. The next obstacle is Brawly. Now I know I said that Breloom's Lead Seat is useful against his Pokemon, but that move alone is not enough to defeat him, especially when you're using a lineup of Pokemon with types neutrally vulnerable to a bulked up Makahita. To overcome Brawly, we need a Pokemon that can defeat both of Brawly's Pokemon over a span of multiple turns, meaning that both of his Pokemon are going to have boosted their physical attack and defense to the point that even Pokemon with a type advantage would struggle. To To do this, we need a Pokemon that can either take a bunch of boosted hits or not be hit at all. Since the former is pretty much impossible, let's go with the latter. The best move to enable the Pokemon of choice to avoid the hits of Brawly's Pokemon is Double Team, and the best Pokemon to use this move is one that has the best type advantage against fighting types. There is one Pokemon with a 4x defensive type advantage that can learn Double Team, and is available before the second gym. That Pokemon is Gardevoir. Now you may be wondering why I didn't use Brawly as my reason to include Gardevoir in my team for my strongest Swampert team, and the reason is that Ralts is not as reliable as Marshtomp in overcoming Brawly. However, when you use Leech Seed on Brawly's first Pokemon, you can pivot into Ralts for free and then set up Double Team while Leech Seed restores health from any hit she may take. That way, when Makuhita comes out, all you have to do is spam a stab move and take out Makuhita before he has a chance to try to attack. Aside from Brawly, Gardevoir is also very useful against Titaniza because one of the moves she learns is Imprison, which disables Titaniza's Pokemon from using one of the strongest moves, and consequently, their Lunatone cannot even attack anymore. She is also useful against Elite Four Sydney's Dark types and Elite Four Drake's Dragon types because of her secondary Fairy type, which is resistant to Dark types and immune to Dragon types. The move Draining Kiss that restores health, combined with her Mega Evolution and the move Calm Mind, make Gardevoir unstoppable against these opponents. Gardevoir is the best pick to overcome the second gym. Our next obstacle is Winona's Altaria. A different member sweeps the rest of her Pokemon, but we'll discuss him later. Winona's Altaria is a threat because unlike with the OG Ruby and Sapphire games, you cannot access the Ice Beam TM before this gym, and you cannot travel to Lilycove City either to teach your Pokemon an Ice type move. The only ways to beat her are to use the free legendary Pokemon that is given to you before this gym, which I will not do because that takes away the fun from crafting teams, or to use Pokemon that know Rock type moves. However, Altaria knows the move Cotton Guard, which lowers the impact of physical attacks, and Roost recovers the already decreased amount of HP that was taken. In other words, Altaria is really annoying to deal with. However, she only has 2 attacking moves, which are Earthquake and Dragon Breath. Since Gardevoir is immune to Dragon Breath, all we need to do is add a Pokemon that is immune to Earthquake, and we can drain Altaria's attacking PP by pivoting both Pokemon immune to her attacks, and then quickly take her out when she is no longer able to attack. However, there are a lot of Pokemon immune to Earthquake, so we have to narrow down our choices to one option. To do this, let's take a look at the obstacles that have not yet been accounted for. 2 obstacles pop out to me, which are Titaniza and Elite Four Phoebe. Both of their Pokemon are weak to the Dark type, and there is a Dark type Pokemon available to defeat both of these gyms that is also immune to Altaria's Earthquake. The Pokemon is Gyarados. Yup, when Mega evolved, Gyarados is a Water and Dark type. However, against Altaria, we're using Gyarados as a Flying type to avail of the perk of immunity to Ground type moves. The Flying type by itself is not useful for overcoming the other obstacles in this game, while the Dark types are not immune to Altaria's Earthquake. With Gyarados, you get the best of both worlds, which is why he is the best Pokemon to use for defeating Winona's Altaria. Now the next Pokemon we're going to pick is one of the primary Pokemon needed to set up Blaziken to sweep Elite Four Sydney and Champion Steven. I'll use Elite Four Phoebe to explain why he should be picked over other Pokemon of the same type. Now although Gyarados' Dark type is offensively super effective against our Pokemon, the Normal type is completely immune to this type defensively, making it a great addition to this team to assist Gyarados. However, the member we pick must be versatile enough to hold its own against other obstacles in this game, regardless of their typing. There are a bunch of normal Pokemon available in this game, but the Pokemon with the best stats from among those Pokemon is Slacking, which makes him the best pick for this team. Now, before you start complaining about how Slacking's truant ability holds him back, you have to remember that Slacking is meant to set up Blaziken against Elite Four Sydney and Champion Steven, which means that Slacking should not even be in the battlefield for more than 2 turns anyway. Also, in addition to his great stats, he has one key move that makes him the perfect Pokemon to set up Blaziken. That move is Yawn. Yawn makes it so that Blaziken can be switched in just as the opponent falls asleep, and then you can set him up to sweep the rest of the team by Mega Evolving him and spamming Power Up Punch. Slacking is a vital member for the team due to carving a path for Mega Blaziken to work his magic. And the last obstacle that requires a specific Pokemon to defeat is Steven's Skarmory. This Pokemon is also meant to take down Winona's flying types except for Altaria, so if you look at all of these Pokemon, it becomes obvious that Electric is the best type to take down all of these mons. The move Volt Switch is the best move to assist in setting up Blaziken to sweep the rest of Steven's team because you can control which Pokemon Steven sends out next, and then you can thereafter put that Pokemon to sleep with Slacking. From my experience, if you send out Gyarados after the electric Pokemon uses Volt Switch, Steven will send out Aggron to defeat him. You can thereafter pivot between Gyarados and Breloom to lower his physical attack, and then have Slacking put him to sleep with the move Yawn. After this, you can send in Blaziken and Mega Evolve him to take advantage of his speed boost ability. Spam Power Up Punch as many times as needed to take out Aggron, and Blaziken's speed and attack will be so high that you can sweep the rest of Steven's Pokemon. Well, except Armaldo, due to his dual typing of Bug and Rock being neutral to fighting and fire, but he can be defeated in 2 turns instead. However, what electric Pokemon do we pick? The goal against Skarmory is to take him out as quickly as possible, so we want a fast and powerful Pokemon to fulfill this role. The electric Pokemon available in the 6th Gen Hoenn games are Manectric, Plusle, Minun, Magnezone, Electrode, Raichu, and Lantern. The only Pokemon with good enough stats are Manectric and Magnezone. However, Manectric is much faster than Magnezone, so Manectric is the best electric type to overcome Steven's Skarmory. And that is my explanation for what, in my opinion, is the strongest team for Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The game developers really put a lot of care into developing Blaziken's Mega and provided him with the perfect ability and move to make him a nearly unstoppable Pokemon when surrounded with the right members. If you think you have a better team, drop it in the comment section below for a chance to be featured in my upcoming Best of series. That's pretty much it for this video, thanks for watching. DFuego, signing out.